Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone from all around the world, from all around the SPE world. And welcome to the first YP Congress, this first event, which has been organized by many subcommittees of committees and subcommittees of the SPE, and namely the WIMEC, the BML, BTB Beyond the Borders, and with the help of SPE Gaia and SPE Diversity and Inclusion. In this slide, you see the agenda of this event, which will be basically consisting of three parts. The first, one is the Ideathon, on which basically this session today is the kickoff. And
ți-am dat o invitație pe Zoom, dacă poți să intri cu Spe.
Please, guys, mute your microphones. Thanks. And the second part of the event will be the YP bootcamp. So basically, a few sessions to network with YPs and to make the most of the YP skills. And then next Saturday, together with the closeout of the Ideathon, we will have an amazing sustainability panel with senior professionals of the industry. And sustainability is kind of the guiding topic of the whole Congress, and we'll close it with an incredible panel on next Saturday. I'm Matteo. I present myself. I'm Matteo Trevisan. I'm from Italy. I work at ENI as a production engineer, and I serve at SPE Italian section as YP chair. And internationally, I am the coordinator of the Beyond the Borders committee. As I mentioned, Beyond the Borders is one of the partners, let's say, of this event today. And I thank so much the committee for the opportunity. And together with me, the host of today will be Luca Cadei. He is a deputy plant manager of an ENI giant oil field in southern Italy. And in SPE Italian section, he served as YP chair and as program chair. And nowadays, he is the liaison with activities of SPE in the southern Italy. And also, I'm really glad to mention that he is one of the co-founder of the Beyond the Border initiative. This initiative is nowadays active for the European sections, but we've got really nice plans to bring it also potentially also outside Europe. And also thanks to this kind of international initiatives, it's possible to link and to to build a really fruitful collaboration between sections all over the world. Now I will leave the floor to Rodrigo. Rodrigo, can you hear me? Can you hear us? Are you with us? If so, please, I will leave you the room. Rodrigo is a petroleum engineer. He is working in the production performance team at Total Energies in Brazil. And he currently focuses on greenhouse gases reductions, well performance, mass balance, and metering. He's got more than 10 years of experience in many different subjects and topics of the oil and gas, such as field development, production, project management, and subsea and deep sea offshore, deep water offshore. And he's graduated at the University of Rio in physics, and he also has a degree as an engineer at the University of Florida. Please mute your microphones, thanks. And at SPE, he served as YP chair of SPE Brazil, and nowadays he serves as board member as secretary of SPE Brazil. And for 2021, he was the WIMEC chair. Just two really short words about WIMEC. WIMEC stands for Young Member Engagement Committee. It's a committee which, as the name itself says, is basically focused and completely focused on young members. And I will leave the floor to Rodrigo, and please tell me if Rodrigo is not in the room so I could go ahead. Okay, maybe I cannot hear Rodrigo, so he might have some problems in joining us. So, well, I could go ahead and, well, this is the agenda of today, starting with a kickoff of the Ideathon and some short, brief details about the initiative. I will leave the floor to the SPE presidents of 2021 and 2022. So Tom Blasingame and Kamel Benasser will be our special guests for today, and these really makes you understand the importance of this kind of congress, this kind of initiative for the whole SPE International board. And then at 9:20 Houston time, we'll have a workshop on sustainability with senior professional Josh Atkin. Then we'll do a 10 minutes break at 9:50, and at 10 we'll resume with a workshop on BML skills with Marin Madorado. And then at 10:30, basically you guys participating, guys and girls participating to the Ideathon project, you will be given the assignment, and basically the Ideathon will start with that. As I mentioned before, the initiative is composed of three main activities. Let's say the first is the Ideathon, which we are kicking off today. And then during the week, you will have 5 days, both morning and afternoon sessions, which we call the YP Bootcamp. And here you see the program. And well, you will be given, we will give you the details to join us and to attend all these sessions. And we will see each other together again next Saturday at 8:30 Houston time again for the closeout of the Ideathon, and as I mentioned earlier, for the sustainability panel. So I will give the floor now. If Rodrigo didn't join us yet, please, Rodrigo, tell me if you're with us. Otherwise, I will leave the floor to Giulia. Maria Giulia Donno is currently working in a top-tier management consultancy company that advises international oil companies and national oil companies on basically business strategy and corporate transformation program. In SPE Italian section, he served as YP chair, and nowadays he is international relations officer at SPE Italian section. And internationally at SPE, she is in the BML committee, so in the business management and leadership committee, which is, as you can see from this slide, a partner of the YP Congress. And she is also part of SPE Gaia, which sponsored the current initiative, the YP Congress. So I will leave the floor to Giulia, asking her basically one question, which is interesting, I believe, for all of us. That is, why this kind of event? Why the efforts for having this kind of event, this international initiative? Please, Giulia, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Can you hear me?
Yes, clear and sound.
Oh, great. Perfect. So thanks a lot for the introduction, both to Matteo and Luca. That were a great part of this event, together also with James, that is not here, unluckily, and together with Leon, who was a wonderful mentor, and Mohamed and Jose, and so really this was a big teamwork, and it was a lot of job putting all this together, but we did it with all our hearts because we had the strong motivation to do this. First of all, the first motivation is internationalization, and this is strictly linked with something that Matteo has already said, with another program that is part of this organization, that is Beyond the Borders. Beyond the Borders is born because we really wanted that young professionals and students have an opportunity to taste the international network of SPE since the first day that they are in SPE. And I would like to mention that when I started in SPE and I was in the local session, I started organizing local events. And after some time for me was like, but why am I doing this? Because I was also in other organization. I mean, here we are in SPE, we can connect with everyone. Why we keep doing local aperitif, for example, that are of course very important, but for me it was like, why? What are we doing? Which is the competitive advantage that we're giving to the people who are participating to our events. And of course, the strength is that with SPE, you can connect with every professional of energy anywhere he is. And of course, you need to create friendship with the people. You need to create relations. And this is why we founded the Beyond the Borders, that it is 4 years ago. And this event is a sort of continuation, a sort of way to say we want to go beyond, we want to go above, we want to connect with every person in the world that has our same mentality. So the first point is that this event is to know people that are similar to you. So really take advantage of this event to know and meet people that maybe are in another country, but they can have a similar mindset of you, and can bring their diversity and can bring the added value to your life. And this is introducing the second point, that is finding your crew. And I think that I always struggle a little bit in my life to find my crew. It's like maybe when I was in high school or even younger, I couldn't really relate with I don't know, people of the same age. I was probably interested to something difficult, different. Sorry. So for me, it was also a point to find my crew, and I have to say that in SPE, I've always found this. I always find people that are interested, really, genuinely interested in what they're doing, that they really have passion of what they do, in what they do, and they are generous with their own time. I would like to say that all the people who are here and who participate in this organization were really generous and really believe in these events, because it was an incredible amount of efforts to be here. And so I really again want to thanks to all of them, and I really hope that bringing here so many people who are first of all expert of energy, and second of all who are interested in making our world a better world, I think really is like trying to create your crew, trying to create the crew that really wants to improve our community, our society, our world. So thanks to all the people who are participating today, because really we want to find ideas, we want to motivate, we want to engage people in creating a better world. And the third point is linked with this again, and is that I really believe that some ideas, and that we will produce very nice ideas, and maybe some of them we will also proceed. And for that, I really would like to mention one thing that happened in my life. When I was at the university, I participated in a program similar to this one. And actually, we had the opportunity to develop a concept solution that now is a pilot, is a reality, is a startup, and was acquired by ENI, and still linked with energy, and in particularly with wave energy. So it's a wave energy converter. So really, thanks to all of you to be here. We are really curious to know what you think. It's very important that someone in an organization take young people and say, we are really interested in your ideas. Don't be afraid if they are not perfect. Of course, we don't, I mean, we are here to have fun, to know people, to share a way of working, a way of learning. So really, this is a mistake that maybe I did in the past. always looking for perfection. No, this is a place where you share with other people and other people give your contribution. So also when talking with the jury, maybe talk in a way of talking with people that can help you in realizing your ideas. And so this is my advice. Try to do things with passion, to share things. And we are here a network that wants to help all the people in SP and that care each other. So that's my message. I see that Rodrigo is here and probably he can give an introduction to all the events. Thanks to Rodrigo.
Thank you very much, Julia. Yeah, Rodrigo, please go ahead. Thanks for joining us. And I ask you to be brief as we've got Tom and Kamel coming up and still 8:50. So please, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Matteo. And of course, everyone that is joining us. Apologies for my delay. I'm out of the city with a bit of connection problems, but it's a pleasure to join you and mainly to bring you this great event. And Julia has highlighted the importance of the event, mainly focusing on the Ideathon. Just to contribute a little bit, and it's a shame that James couldn't make it due to some personal issues that he'll join probably later. But on the YMX side, along with James, Joanne, Niha, and everyone that is helping and joining, we've prepared an amazing event. Thanks to Leon and the guys, Julia, Matteo, everyone, and the SP board for supporting and sponsoring this event. We'll have this 5-day boot camp in which we hope it's the first of many annual events. Our goal with this event is to bring, we've always felt that YPs contribute a lot to society, but we haven't had that many events for YPs as much as sometimes we have for professionals in general or students. So we wanted to prepare an event specifically for YPs, but for not exclusive only for them. Any SP member is more than welcome to join. The idea is to try to train the next generation of YP leaders and try to help them tackle the a little bit challenging environment now, which is the energy transition and the change in the industry, and how to remain relevant in SP, how to pass on the importance of SP for fellow YPs worldwide. And the idea is to have a one-on-one interaction between different sections. Each day will have 1 or 2 regions showcasing their best practices and their best trade and know-how on how to best provide the highest value for SP members in the YP demographic. So that's something we'll be working on the 5 days. At the end of these 5 days, we'll be preparing deliverable, a memo per se that we can deliver for the board or any other YPs with the major highlights and key takeaways from this 5-day discussions. And in parallel, we'll also be having some great courses that we prepared for you guys on how to use many of the SP tools, including membership builder, informs, as well as some soft skill courses on how to present online, tackling this new quite popular live scenario, how to get the most out of it. And of course, we'll also be having some key lectures and roundtables on what we call the white elephant sessions, such as what is the role of SP in this new future energy scenario for young professionals, SP becoming something of a society for professionals in energy, not only of engineers, and adapting to this scenario, and the role of petroleum engineers as itself in the next years. So there's going to be a lot of courses. Many of them will be pre-recorded, so you'll be able to watch them at different time zones and different moments. Likewise, for the what we call the YP regional chair events, they will be adjusted for the best time zone for each region, and they will also remain recorded with some key takeaways being transcribed into presentation/memo, so it can be, of course, shared within the SP community. So we hope that you enjoyed, and thank you so much for joining us. Thanks so much, SP, for the support, and we'll try to bring you the best experience with the best content for you, all members. Thank you, Matteo and Julia.
Thanks to you, Rodrigo. And well, Luca, would you like to take the floor?
Yeah, thank you very much, Rodrigo, and thank you very much to everyone. I want to highlight a little bit what Leon wrote it down in the chat of the room, actually. So it's quite important, and we want to look we are looking for some solution actually to help society, and considering also the COP26 that is, online right now, happening right now. So it's an important turning point for our society, actually. Now, I want to go fast to the introduction, and I'm very honored to do this kind of introduction to Tom Blasingame. Actually, Tom is the 2021 SPE president, and that's why I'm honored, and I'm honored also because he is a professor of petroleum engineering in Texas A&M University, where he began, as an undergraduate teaching assistant in 1982. Then he became a student after becoming a student, and he joined as a full-time staff assistant professor in 1991. He has graduated more than, or equally to something similar to 72 Master of Science students and 16 PhD students since 1991. And he prepared approximately 170 technical articles spreading knowledge, actually, and know-how on petroleum engineering and this kind of study. Blasingame is also active in SPE since 1990s, serving in a wide variety of roles. He has chaired more than 20 conferences and forums, and of course SPE summits. He served as the SPE International Board of Directors as a technical director for Reservoir from 2015 to 2018. And of course, at the end, he holds a BS and MS and PhD degrees in petroleum engineering from Texas A&M University. So, Tom, it's an honor for us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I will set my clock here, so I'll try not to go over time. And I need to share my screen, which I can do. Okay. Can everyone confirm they see that, please? Yep.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, thank you. And I will go quickly, everyone. Thank you very much, and thank you for that kind introduction and for having me. I do apologize. This is going to be a little bit of an off-the-cuff thing. I wanted to do something different, so I created a completely different sort of stack of slides, and I wanted to talk through it with you. So first of all, let's start and be introspectional, which is a word actually, and it's the examination of or observation of one's own mental and emotional processes. And basically, this is about our history and how we think matters. And I pulled this image because I thought, it sort of defines how people think. I want to credit the author with seeing this. If we have a growth mindset, then we do really well with things like embracing challenges, accepting criticism, and having a desire to learn and building our abilities. Those are easy words, but inevitably we fall back and we say, well, effort is fruitless, we ignore feedback, and we have fixed abilities. I'll talk more about that in just a second. So let's talk about being inspirational, and that is providing or showing creative or spiritual inspiration. In other words, what we've done. And really quickly on the right-hand side, I stole that image about what can you do with 1 barrel of oil, so people can see that what we do really does make a difference. Right now, it's really hard to imagine a substitute for oil and gas as feedstocks to all the different things we produce in the world and use. I just wanted to give everyone a reminder about that. Obviously, we can always synthesize other things, but the cost and effectiveness and efficiency would be greatly changed by that. Down at the lower left-hand corner, I found this particular graphic on our world in data. It does come from the World Bank. It's a very clever rendering of the data. If you decide to take a look at it, the web link is there. And what this shows is the energy use of an individual per capita in terms of kilowatt hours of use versus the GDP per capita. And you can see that by the sort of the vapor trails, if you're looking at them, the progression of any given country is to the right and up. And that is pretty much our job, if I can say that. Our whole goal is to provide as much wealth and capability of society. And I don't mean that wealth necessarily in terms of being wealthy, but in providing access to food, access to energy, access to education, and essentially creating a better lifestyle. We have a major social impact, our industry does, and yet sometimes we forget about that. So a lot of this really is due to our efforts, and because we produce the bulk of the energy consumed in the world right now. Our job later on will be to transition to other sources, and we'll talk about that as well. So we also want to be aspirational, and that is of, relating to, or characterized by a strong desire to achieve something great or high. The interpretation there is what we will do. So this is something that I found on a McKinsey site, and it's about retooling for different opportunities. And I'll let you review it on your own, but essentially it's the attractiveness, whether it's financially attractive, spread of cost of capital, and then whether it's a good fit for us, less or better. You might argue that some of these things are more or less, maybe this should move over here and this should move over here. I don't know, but I think they did a pretty good job of identifying where our skill sets in oil and gas will probably lie in terms of both value and functionability. But later on, I'll talk also about having more than just oil and gas capabilities, more than just oil and gas functionalities, because you want to have more flexibility than something like this might imply. Next is really kind of a personal thing where we have essentially been unintentional. We've not done any harm on purpose. We just didn't realize that we had to be more public facing, and yes, we should have. And I sincerely appreciate that your generation has pointed this out with a sledgehammer, either to our head or to our toes. I really like the song "The Living Years" by Mike and Mechanics, because it starts by saying that every generation blames the one before. You know, it's just a part of being young. You see what could have been done and wasn't, and you make a judgment on that. But remember that we all had our own burdens that we were carrying. We were all trying to create a better tomorrow, just like you are today. We made some mistakes. They were unintentional. It's kind of like parenting, you know. There was an interesting comment by a skier, Atle Skardal, and he said it would be wrong to put the blame on one person because he was working with the best intentions. And what that really means is all of us, and that's the big all, every person, I believe, operates from the best of intentions. There, you know, we may have different interpretations of that, but nobody sets out to do bad. Nobody sets out to harm others, at least I hope not. So let's keep that in mind as we progress on. Frictional, this one's a tough one. And in order to bring it up, I went to the children's dictionary. Actually, the resistance of motion when one object rubs against another. And essentially, I was saying this is a relationship we've had with the public. And you can see that we definitely have a problem with image. This came from a survey, and I apologize, it was given in this particular reference, but I think it was a major survey company that did it, that performed the survey, pardon me. And so this is teens, 16 to 18s, and then this is others, 19 plus. Renewable energy has almost universal approval in terms of the comparison of age groups. It's approximately 80%. Natural gas for teens is about 40%. For adults, it's about 60%. Oil is way down. 25% of teens say oil is good. 35% of teens, of adults say oil is good. We're right there with nuclear and with coal. This is a very difficult situation to be in because our resources literally dominate the landscape right now. We provide 56% of the world's energy, and even the best efficiencies, the best expectations, and so on, looks like we're still going to provide somewhere between 48 and 50%, even 30 years from now. This is just a reality. The economy, the security, the reliability, and quite frankly, the functionality of oil and gas really make it an essential resource for many, many decades to come. That's not to say it won't change, and that's not to say it won't accept competition from other sources. And we have to accept that challenge. We have to, as your generation has to be the first generation that understands the compatibility and the necessity of working with renewables. Our generation saw it. We saw it 40 years ago, but it just wasn't viable. Technology has significantly improved. And quite frankly, the public wants it. Now, the question is, how do you provide infrastructure for that? And that's something that's a bigger question than we can answer today. Next is motivational. And this is designed to promote the desire, willingness to achieve something. And my interpretation of that is the size of the prize in terms of what we can and should do for society. And let's be honest, the last couple of years have been really tough. The last 6 years have been the toughest in my career. I know you're tired of hearing that. You're young. You look at tough as an opportunity. Old people look at tough as, oh, well, more of the same. But the important thing is tough is okay. The bottom line really is that we did well during the transition, during the pandemic. Freudian slip there. It led to a desire to transition ourselves elsewhere. So this is really important. And this is a diagram, of course, from the World Economic Forum. So next is explorational. This is the action of traveling in or through unfamiliar area in order to learn about it. This is our willingness to pursue new paths. Of course, your generation recognizes that we are trying to expand our tent, literally. We have talked to the AAPG and are currently in merger negotiations with them. We've also spoken with every other organization that you can imagine. And we also have an agreement to consider from the SEG, the Society of Exploration Geophysicists. They are currently considering whether or not to engage with us. Both of those, I want to commend their leadership. They were very open and very, engaging, if I can say that, with me about the possibility of doing that, myself and board members and so on. The important thing with this is how it affects you. And we see this as a mechanism really to pursue energy transition, to find new roles and career opportunities that are going to be better addressed by this really multiply cross-discipline organization. And frankly, there's a financial side. In the past, a company may have given $1 or a real or a dirham or a rupee or whatever to each professional society. They can't do that anymore. So we have to be prepared to say, look, we know you're not going to be able to afford as much. And perhaps the best thing for us to do is consolidate our efforts. And I certainly feel that way personally. And of course, that was a major motivating factor. And last but not least is we really want to create this professional society that can address the challenges of the energy transition and attract the support of not only industry stakeholders, but societal stakeholders. You can see the numbers in the lower left-hand corner. They're important, but they don't really drive this. This isn't a merger of intellectual equals. And I know people kind of bristle when you say that. The numbers are different, but the intellectuality, if that's a word, the intellectual capability of the two societies and certainly three if SEG joins is really paramount to this discussion. The opportunity to bring all of those under one group is really amazing. Next, I went on a little tirade here, and I apologize. This is about being functional, which is designed to be practical and useful. And the implementation of our creations, oil and gas are not pretty. I'm sure most of you know that I grew up in an oil and gas family. I was literally on rigs when I was 3 and 4 years old. I watched my father cry when Red Adair visited one of our well sites where we had a blowout. So I'm very, very familiar with oil and gas almost since birth. These power at least 90% of the transportation on the planet, but the other 10% is not just electric cars. It was also mass transit. And I wanted to comment that that's probably where most of that electricity, that differential 90%. For the United States, for example, which is not necessarily a role model for anything, it's certainly less than 1%. Oil and gas power probably 99% of the transport here. If we look on the right-hand side, we see a comparison of motor vehicles and electric vehicles in the United States. And I understand, again, the United States is not the leader here. It's really China and to a lesser degree, the European Union. But let's use them because there's a lot of data for them. And you can see the red triangles are the motor vehicles. This is starting in 1900. You can see my mark here. And of course, I just did it from that time period. So you can see the growth, the rapid growth of internal combustion or motor vehicles in the United States from 1900. And now I superimpose the electric vehicles. And because there was sort of a rough start here, I went on ahead and shifted it by 4.75 years. And you can see these agree. Of course, we had a little downturn due to the pandemic. I'm sure it'll be back on trend. So we're probably looking at, I don't know, 10 million electric vehicles in the United States in the next 7 to 10 years, maybe 10 to 12 years. It really depends on, you know, the ability to charge and the ability to how far they'll go and that sort of thing. But electric cars are a reality, but there is, or electric vehicles, I should say, but there is a path. And that path, I'm not saying it's going to continue to follow this. Obviously, if you go straight up, but the reality is that how things are implemented, how things are accessed, how the infrastructure for those is going to be different for each type. Sort of closing out really quickly, an unconventional perspective is that that's with no limits, no restrictions, nor qualification. My interpretation of this is our passion, our commitment, our desire is to provide energy for a global society. We're not simply an energy provider. We need to remember that. We are a societal partner, we're a cultural innovator, and we're an essential contributor to global well-being in terms of poverty reduction, facilitation of education, access to better food and food preparation, affordable, reliable transportation, and I might also say that we're also the key to access to power, to water, and other resources. This is something that should not be lost. The size of this prize for your generation is incredibly large. And you can see on the right-hand side my usual comments about where the opportunity for us to make an enormous amount of impact is. So with that, I'll go to my last slide. And this is on being transformational. And this is something that completely alters the current operating structure. And this is sort of along the lines of our desire to implement our creations, to utilize our resource for as many things as possible, of course, but also our push into carbon utilization and sequestration, and then geothermal and hydrogen. Lastly, I did pull the data from the SPE website, and you can see the trend. This is 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018, 2020. In the interest of time, I took the liberty of pointing out where you are and then pointing out where I am. And congratulations, you're in charge now. So I lied. I do have one last slide just to show, just to leave you with a thought. So I also rescaled the year-on-year change in utilization of renewable energy and nuclear energy. Nuclear is given in purple, renewables given in yellow, and then also with regard to hydroelectric. Now, both nuclear and hydroelectric have their own challenges. They require certain things, but I just thought, let's take a look. And you can see that renewable started a long time ago and it had sort of a growth curve. And then now it's sort of becoming mainstream, and year-on-year changes, at least apparently, are beginning to look like this. So is this going to look like nuclear, where nuclear took about 60 years to implement? Or is it going to look like hydroelectric, which this is the dashed line that I created for hydroelectric. So if we compare directly to hydroelectric, we see that, again, we have the buildup of renewable energy in terms of its year-on-year change. And then we see down this trend, which does coincide eventually with this historical. There could actually be two trends for hydroelectric, starting at about 1900. You can see over a period of 120 years, the nature of this. So with that, I will close out, and I don't think we're going to take questions. I think we're going to go directly to Kamal. So forgive me, I will now stop sharing, or maybe you'll have to stop sharing because I've lost track of where that is. But I will close my my self-storage video and hand back to you guys. Looks like I can do that there.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much. It was really, really interesting actually for me, but looking to the message that the other guys are sending to you in the chat, it was amazing for everyone actually. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Okay, thank you. And I'll go to mute. Thank you. Yeah. I'll also go offline if that's okay.
Thank you, really. Okay, so now we are moving on to the introduction of Kamel Benasser. Actually, Kamel will not be with us, so we will show you a little video that he recorded for the event, and to present him and have a little speech. about the event and his activities. Actually, Kamel will be the 2022 SPE president. He previously served as a technical director for management and information on the SPE board of director, and actually is the president of Nomadia Consulting and the chief economist with ADNOC Group based on Abu Dhabi. He has more than 35 years of experience in the oil and gas industry, and previously to taking the position with ADNOC in 2017. He was the director for sustainable energy policies and technologies with the AEI, so International Energy Agency. Before that, he was the Ministry of Energy, Industry and Mines for the government of Tunisia. Benacer served also in several different positions in Schlumberger, including the chief economist, vice president of technology, and vice president of CO2 solution and services. He is an author of more than 15 books and more than 120 articles. Benacer received also a degree for École Polytechnique in France and École Normale Supérieure with an aggregation of mathematics, actually. And now I will share my screen with Kamel presentation, actually. So say to me that if you are seeing my screen.
Yes, Luca, I see the screen, and
okay,
let's see if we can hear as well.
Yeah, we will try with the video.
Buenos dias, dear colleague. It's my great pleasure to welcome you in the kickoff session of the SPE Young Professional Congress. I would like to thank you and congratulate all the volunteers and the SPE staff who have contributed to this fantastic event. This is a recording message, as I couldn't be with you today. I'm actually at another very important event, the COP26 in Glasgow, where I'm participating in discussions about the reduction of the carbon footprint of energy, and particularly through the use of hydrogen and CCUS. We all wish for a very successful outcome of the COP26, as the future of our planet will depend on some of the decisions that will be taken at this event. So if we look back at our oil industry, the oil and gas industry, we have been playing a key role in the development of the world. It will also have, in terms of energy source, a very important role in the future, which you are all representing today as young professionals. This future will be different, and we will need to adapt to it. But what is certainly going to be a fact is that oil and gas will represent a significant part of the energy mix in the coming years and even in the 2 or 3 next decades. Today, we are facing, like many other industries, the impact of the pandemic crisis. The drop in oil demand in 2020 as a result of lower individual and collective transport, as well as lower industrial activity, is unprecedented, both in absolute and relative terms. While there has been a partial recovery in 2021, and with the potential emergence of new variants combined with incomplete vaccination, especially in the developing economy, there are still significant uncertainties with regards to demand recovery. Hopefully, by the quarter of next year, we should have a more complete vaccination schedule around the world, and we will be in better shape. We are also seeing through the last few months what could happen to energy markets when they are undersupplied. And we have seen natural gas prices hitting record highs in Asian markets, but also in other markets around the world. So what are we doing as a society in this uncertain event? I have put my presidency under the theme of sustainable recovery. So sustainable, and this is an area where we all have a passion for sustainability and recovery, because we are recovering from the pandemic, and we are hopefully going into a more sustainable state from a health side and also from an economic side. So the SPE has been and is engaged in a number of sustainability-related issues. And I want to cite a few of them. And they have all been developing over the last 10 plus years. The first one is the CCUS, Carbon Capture, Utilization and Storage, which was started almost 13 years ago. And I was privileged to be the first chair of the CCUS committee. And this section is working with other professional societies to develop events for our membership that show the importance of this technology for a sustainable energy future. The second one is the BML, the Business Management and Leadership group, which is actually doing great work in terms of progressing the skills of our membership in what are typically called soft skills, but we are including more skills in terms of helping them to go through times that are uncertain. And we have developed great programs in the area of resilience, of communication, of negotiation, of career strategies, of strategic thinking. So all that are actually available through the SPE website, where you find fantastic speeches in those that are very inspiring. The third one, which is very well represented at the YP Congress today, is the Diversity and Inclusion group, which is actually now spreading out throughout the world with several dozens of local groups that are pushing for higher levels of diversity and inclusion in our professional work, and how we can all contribute to making sure that all the great minds are represented in our society, independently of gender, race, and others. We also have the Sustainable Development Technical Sessions, where we have over more than 1,000 members around the world that are working together to see how we can make energy a more sustainable part of the future. We also have a very active group on geothermal. And then we have, since 2019, and I want to thank the leadership of Mrs. Joanna Dunlop, who was at that time the technical director of SPE on HSS&E, on putting together a great forum where we have very interesting combination of skills. And the result of it was the emerging of Gaia, and Gaia is very well represented today in the YP Congress. And so we have also great initiatives like Measuring What Matters, Trees, and others, which are showing that the potential impact of an initiative like Gaia. So if we go back now to the SPE strategic plan, which was put together about 4 years ago, and we are in the progress of making a new one for the upcoming years. What do we have in the, what are we preparing for that strategic plan? The first one is about the future of SPE and the profession. As we all know, oil and gas still represents today 56% of the primary energy mix. And this is certainly one of the highest levels in history. We also have great technologies in the oil and gas sector that would allow us to produce more efficiently and more responsibly and in a more sustainable way. We have data sciences like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and others. Communications, where we are seeing the emergence of 5G, and by the end of this decade, we will have 6G technologies with the potential of reaching the about trillion bits per second in terms of speed of transmission of data. We also have quantum computing, which is advancing, nano biotechnologies. We have advanced robotics. We have 3D printings. We have also CCUS. So all these technologies make it certainly one of the most interesting time to be in this industry. And I started in this industry about 40 years ago, and I reflect back on all the progress that has been done, and I can say that the future is even brighter in terms of the potential of those technologies. If we look at now some of the scenarios for decarbonization, and we have heard through about those scenarios, the net zero emission scenarios and so on. But if we look at in details of what they entail in terms of technology component, we see technologies that are very close to what we in the oil and gas industry are very familiar with. And these are things like carbon capture, utilization and storage, hydrogen, energy efficiency, digitalization, all that we already have in our toolbox of systems that we are using on a daily basis. And also, many of these technologies require subsurface experience, CCUS, things like geothermals. So all that we will need our skills. We also need to learn from the pandemic crisis. We as a society, and of course our members, have been hit by the pandemic in terms of impact on our employment, and also the way we work, the way we communicate. And so the SPE has adapted very rapidly to virtual meetings. And I want to congratulate all the staff for the great work in allowing in a very short amount of time to go to all these events that kept our membership aware of what was happening, even if they were not able to travel. But we need a sustainable business model, because financially we need to replace the revenue that sustains our activities in terms of the exhibitions and others. So we need to find a sustainable business models. And as a last but not least point, I wanted to talk about what we have engaged in a few months ago, which is the merger with the American Association of Petroleum Geologists, the APG, which is about 35,000 members, during our discussion, we have found that we have been engaging for many, many years in joint events that have been very successful, like the OTC, like the EOTech more recently, like the IPTC. And so we share many success stories together. We are also, in our day-to-day work, we are working in integrated team between geologists, geophysicists, and also the SPE engineers and data scientists. So we are all part of the teams, we communicate, so it makes sense that we would work together in a closer way. We would share knowledge, we would share experiences, and we would benefit from the knowledge of the disciplines of each other's. And so we also have many areas for the future that we are also pursuing, like CCUS, hydrogen energy, novel geothermal solutions, and of course, digitalization. So we have advanced in terms of defining the models for the combined governance, and we will be coming to the general member vote in March or April 2022. And so we hope certainly that this will be an appealing proposal for you members. We have, to all the YPs we have talked, it has been a great yes, please go, please do it as fast as possible. Certainly we look forward to a great initiative with your support. So let me conclude by congratulating you all for a great event and wishing you success and growth in your career. Many of you are young professionals, and you certainly have a bright future in making the energy systems of the future. Thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias.
Okay, so actually we have seen the Kamal presentation, and thank you very much to Kamal, of course, for the speech and for the time he spent to record this kind of video, considering also that he's actually involved in COP26 actually. So thank you very much. And now we have to switch a little bit the presentation, and I'm going to introduce a speaker. Sorry, could you hear me?
Yes, Luca, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce Josh Etkin, and just correct me if I'm not pronounce the name correctly. Okay, perfect. Josh will present a little workshop on sustainability basis, and just to introduce a little bit Josh. Josh is Shell Upstream Deep Water Digital Transformation Manager, and he has over more than 20 years of energy industry experience, leading global teams to deliver mega project and breakthrough innovation across the energy value chain. Josh is a petroleum engineer by background, of course, and a certified sustainability practitioner, and a fellow of Loyola University Institute of Environmental Communications. He currently serves as a CEO of Sanitation for All, an international NGO actually focused on helping disadvantaged communities gain access to basic human needs afforded by clean drinking water and toilets. having previously served on the SPE board of directors from 2007 to 2010, he is now the president of SPE Gaia Sustainability Program and the chairperson of the SPE Sustainable Development Technical Section. So a lot of experience in sustainability, of course. He has received many awards and recognition for the service to the SPE mentorship and to the society, including receiving the 2021 SPE International Public Service Award. So a big compliments to you. And the 2013 SPE Distinguished Service Award, granting him lifetime distinguished membership, the 2010 American Petroleum Institute Meritorious Service Award also, and the 2004 SPE International Young Member of Standing Service Award. So a lot of experience in SPE and in this kind of activities. Joshi is an active energy innovator, and also he owns by 2 advanced energy related patents. So Josh, the floor is yours, and we are looking for your workshop. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Luca. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just realized that I am not authorized to share my slides.
You should be now, sorry.
Okay, it works. Thank you.
Works, yeah.
Yep. Let me start that up. We can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you so much for inviting me to be with you today and for setting up this event. Very excited to be here. I see a lot of familiar faces around the table, and I know that there's been a lot of work that's gone into setting this up. I think you see that one of the attendees, Leon Bugelsdijk, he's looked like he dressed up as my twin, and he might serve as my twin. We've been working together on SPE volunteer stuff forever, probably over 15 years, 16 years, something like that. I would say he is almost like my twin, except for the fact that he's about a foot taller than me. And anytime I see him, I try and hug him, I end up with my face in his chest. So if you ever see me hug Leon, you'll see me also on my tippy toes. Anyway, so really want to thank you for setting this up today. I've got a lot of good information to share with you, but I also want to make sure that we have some interaction. So if there's time for that, I'll be open to questions as well. So I'm talking about 2 topics today. The first one being sustainability basis, and the second one being an introduction to the Gaia Sustainability Initiative. One last comment, I guess, about myself and Leon. We were both involved with the initiation of the young member kind of activities in general. We started the Young Professional Coordinating Committee years ago, which is the predecessor to WIMEC, and both of us have served on the Business Management Leadership Committee. Leon just finished chairing that for a year. So really involved with a lot of these great activities. So good to see it all coming together, and hopefully this will be of interest to you. So I wanted to start with a picture, just getting a general sense that the challenges that we face in the world today are greater than just carbon emissions and climate change. And so I want to talk about a couple things. Global wildlife. When you look at the degradation that's happened since 1970, almost 70% reduction. And so the health of our ecosystems that we depend on so much are declining rapidly. And I want you to consider that we depend on this ecosystem vitality. One example would be bees. We need bees and bats to like pollinate our plants. And that's not just for natural plants, it's also for agriculture. You lose that service and you lose a lot of value. You lose the ability to do scaled agricultural sort of development. The next one is around the amount of land that's been degraded globally. This is ice-free land, 75% reduction or 75% of our land is somehow degraded by human contact. and we look at the number of wetlands that are vibrant today, it's something like 85% of the land area has been degraded or lost somehow. Also since mid-century last year or last century. And you look at the carbon emissions, this is kind of more something that we talk about more frequently. We've seen carbon emissions bouncing around for millennia, but prior to industrialization, around 280 parts per million. And today it's almost 415 ppm. I think it's 414. And so our ceiling is 450. So if you hit 450 ppm, that it takes us beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is at the point which scientists have estimated will start triggering really rapid degradation and tipping points, feedback loops. And those things are very hard to predict. And any of you that are reservoir engineers know that you have to make a lot of assumptions about our modeling, isostatic and homogeneous and all these kind of things. Nature's not that way. There's a lot of feedback loops, and so it's hard to predict. But the further we go, the more dangerous this whole thing gets. And finally, when you talk about the budget for carbon in a volumetric standpoint, another thing that we like to talk about in our industry, we've got something like 400 gigatons of budget of carbon to release before we hit 450 ppm and hit 1.5 degrees C. So that's our budget. And how much are we spending per year? Something like 40 gigatons a year. So depending on who you listen to, it's something like 7 to 10 years of budget that we've got. And so that takes us to this point just below here, that this is the decade of action. And the people here on this call, you are the leaders that are going to help us really tackle this, right? And I'm not absolving myself of a responsibility here. I take a very strong accountability for where we are, and of course trying to bring us to a better place. But we're not going to get there without the ingenuity and the inspiration and motivation and work ethic that is represented around the world in this call. When I saw, as people were joining the call, people that were joining from all over the world, I've traveled quite a bit, but still a lot of places I've never been. But the diversity of thought and the capabilities that sit around this virtual table is second to none. So really, thank you for being interested in this stuff. And I really hope that with you as part of this, we can unleash the power of engineering to solve these problems. So next point is really around the rate of change of what's going on in our lives right now. I think this is pretty unprecedented. I think maybe every generation says that. I don't know, but it feels unprecedented to me. But this is a great quote from a guy that maybe not all of us will love, but I think is a great quote. The world is in the early stages of a sustainability revolution that has the magnitude of the industrial revolution, but the speed of the digital revolution. So this is there's a lot changing around us very quickly. I work in the digital space now. I've worked in LNG R&D, leading that for Shell globally in the past. I've been involved in a lot of these different sort of things, and just the amount of change that is necessary to win here is massive. I see if people would please mute your microphones. I hear Minnie has her microphone on, so it's generating some background noise. Thank you. So the next point I want to make is that a lot of talk and energy is sort of centering around greenhouse gas emissions, and that's important, absolutely. And greenhouse gas emissions, that generate a global warming sort of potential and reflect energy back down, from the radiated energy that comes out of the earth from the sun, and that's important, right? Greenhouse gas emissions are important. And then, I was asked to give a background on sustainability. And so we'll talk a little bit about what sustainable development is. And but the point I'd like to make here is actually what's greater and more important than both greenhouse gas emissions and sustainable development is this much wider challenge that we're faced with. And that's restoring biosphere vitality and thriving within planetary boundaries. So I'll talk about both of those a bit more. But I think, you know, when I hear the word sustainable, to me, that means that we just kind of maintain what we're doing today. And I'd like you to reflect on the fact, do you think that our lifestyle today is something that we want to sustain, as far as the amount of damage that we're causing to the environment and you know, the efficiency with which we extract and use resources? Or if you even think about in different countries, there are different points along their development. So sustainable might mean that we maintain the same type of development trajectory for each country. So if you look at the trajectory that the UK has gone through, and you look at they're one of the most environmentally degraded countries on Earth in their landmass. And then you look at the United States and the trajectory that they've gone on, and the sort of pollution that's coming from United States after all of that industrial revolution and so forth. And then you look at developing countries in Africa or, you know, India, or you look at in China and elsewhere in Asia. You know, they're earlier in their development, but if they follow that same trajectory, we're all doomed. However, as you heard in my introduction, I've got a great passion for things like clean drinking water and sanitation, education, and things like this, and also access to energy. And there's still an estimated something like 0.8 billion people that don't even have access to energy today. So how do you provide access to those people to energy, to clean drinking water, to adequate sanitation? It's amazing the impact that those three things can have on health and vitality of people, and our ability to engage populations of brilliant folks that, you know, today don't have access to the internet. They don't have access to adequate education. And hey, the next big Einstein might be out there, you know, without access to that sort of capability. What are we doing to help them? So it's a challenge that has multiple different angles to it. We have to provide access to these things. We have to improve the efficiency with which we deliver energy and the way we use it, and provide end services like heat, light, and mobility, and safe refrigerated medicine and so forth. And all of that while finding a way to radically reduce greenhouse gas emissions and impact on the environment. So it's quite a challenge. So what does that mean? What do we need then? What is the priority or the intent of all this? I would say that we need two things, and the people around this virtual room, I look to you for these things. I think this is what I want you to aspire to be in your career. It's change makers, and it's also movement builders. So we need people that are the change they want to see in the world, and that build movements around themselves and bring others along for the ride. And another thing that I think we really need, which I didn't put specifically on this slide, is effective communicators. We need people that have the courage and the capability to stand up in front of the public and be able to speak about what it is that our industry does to provide for all of those end services, and the role that we must play in the energy transition. So it's these people in this room. I need you to step up and be a little bit braver to speak in front of the public and help tell our story. Our industry is seen as a singular monolithic industry. We're all combined and sort of conflated into one big lumpy thing, yet we don't really act very effectively as an industry. We don't collaborate as effectively as we could, and we certainly don't show up to the public with industry messaging that helps tell our story. We have so many different organizations and companies and NGOs and all the rest of it, each having their own message, and we don't come together. So we need to do better in that space. So I just wanted to, provide a little bit of humor along the way here as well. So this is a kind of a funny cartoon. I don't know if you can read the font that well, but it says on the top left, our way of life is being threatened by a dark force, and we must defend our way of life. What is the dark force that threatens our way of life? Oh, it's our way of life. So we've got a lot of work to do here. I honestly think, and I'll provide some more information about this in a second, that we can maintain our lifestyle. We can raise the development level of those that don't have access to energy, water, and sanitation, all while also reducing the carbon emissions and our negative impacts on the environment, and bring humanity back into a role in balance with our ecosystems where we can thrive within planetary boundaries. And that's really where the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations come into play. There's 17 Sustainable Development Goals in all, and one might look at these and say, okay, well, I could see how our industry would play a role in affordable and clean energy, number 7. Yeah, it makes sense. Maybe some decent work and economic growth, number 8, or industry innovation and infrastructure, sure. Maybe even reduced inequalities. You see the D&I push, and the D&I sort of group is a big part of today's event. Maybe even in sustainable cities or responsible consumption and production. Oh wait, maybe climate action, sure, that one too. And oh, we have a role in life below water because we produce a lot of our hydrocarbons offshore, and those that we produce onshore, sometimes it can affect water tables or rivers and lakes. Oh, life on land too, sure, that one too. And peace, justice, I don't know, maybe sure. Partnership, yeah, maybe gender equality, yep, okay. Sanitation, yep. Quality education, yeah, maybe we can play a role. As you go through these things, you recognize the work that we do every day has a potential to impact all of these goals. And what's interesting about it is that if you look at any one of them in isolation, you're missing the point. All of these things are interrelated. So going further on this point of interrelationships, I'd like to highlight a couple of things. If you've never heard of the stress nexus, it's something that I want you to consider for a moment. That the biggest sort of triumvirate of human life and vitality is 3 things. We need access to water, we need access to energy, and we need access to food. Without those 3 things, everything else falls apart. So, but all 3 of these things are interrelated with each other. 2/3 of the fresh water in the world is used for food production. 15% of all water withdrawals is used for energy, and 23% of all fossil fuels go globally to the production of food, and so forth and so on. They're all connected. And when we look, I don't know how I can get rid of this thing up here. It's getting in the way of the slides here, but anyway, so less than 10% of our extracted resources are reused. And so what that means is every year, 93 gigatons of material is extracted from the natural environment. And that goes into all sorts of different parts and pieces of our economy. You get minerals and ores and fossil fuels and biomass, and you can follow all of this down into what services does it provide. Housing, communication, mobility, healthcare services, consumables, nutrition, all those things are important. Some of it goes into long-lasting materials and infrastructure. Most of it is dispersed into the environment as unrecoverable waste. More than 2/3 just get thrown away into landfills and such. Only about 10% is reused. And so if you say, hey, there's not enough materials out there, and no, actually, we're just not being very efficient in how we use those materials. And this is another one that I got from Amory Lovins, who's the leader of the Rocky Mountain Institute. Less than 10% of the energy that we extract. So imagine like a barrel of oil or an MCF of gas or a unit of coal, less than 10% of that even reaches the customer. And then in the use of whatever device is being powered, often only about 10% or so of that actually goes into the end service that you need. So into the heat or into the light that comes from an incandescent bulb, or the mobility, like something like 1% of your gasoline actually moves the driver. So it's incredible. If you think about it through that lens, we can, if you save a little bit of energy at the demand source, you can save so much, over 10 times, maybe 100 times more at the source. And if you think about the amount of energy that's required to find, develop, produce, refine, hydrocarbons to get it to be that fuel unit, there's an even larger piece of emissions and impact that happen there. So it does make sense for us to focus on reducing the needs, but we also have to think about how we get this overall value chain to be more efficient. So that brings me to my next point about the type of new leaders that we need. This is my kind of view of the new leadership stack, which I think is something that I hope all of you are trying to develop in yourselves. I think by attending this event here today and over the course of the next week, I think that commitment is the type of commitment that's needed so that you're able to upskill and become more efficient and effective in your role. So there's 4 different areas. You need to be effective in the energy transition, in all things sustainability, in being able to grow our license to operate and defend it as well, and in digital transformation. And so, within the energy transition, we don't need just incremental improvements. We need disruptive innovation, new business models, new approaches to kind of disrupt this inefficient world that we live in. We need collaborators, communicators. We need people that understand how to work both with molecules, which we're quite good at, but also with electrons and other energy pathways. And in sustainability, we need people that have vision and that have the skills to deliver against that vision. It's great to be a dreamer, but dreamers that do are really what this world needs. We need systems thinkers. If you know what that means, I'll touch on that on the next slide. We need people that are curious and creative and passionate change agents. And then when it comes to license to operate, we need people that can engage with the public, that have an empathetic relationship with their customer. We need people that have good communication skills and good engagement skills and good transformational change skills as well. If you've never heard of transformational change, it's incredibly important as well in digital transformation. In digital transformation, you're building new products, new workflows, new tools, new apps, new software. In order to have those be put to use towards a good effect, then you need to learn how to do transformational change to embed those products. So we also need business translators that can understand the needs of the customer and translate that into development capacity, people that understand agile development and understand how to code and use AI. So what is systems thinking? What does that mean? We need people that can think about wholes and not just parts, people that can think in nonlinear functions and not just linear functions. If you look at the IEA projections of renewable sort of growth for solar and wind, every year from 1990 whatever all the way through to recently, every year there was like it was growing and it would make a linear projection. It was growing, linear projection, growing, linear projection. It was an exponential growth. That's how natural systems grow. And you saw some of that in Tom Blassingame's slides. We need to be thinking nonlinear. We need to understand S-curves of technology. We also need to go beyond analysis by dissecting things into their little pieces and parts and understanding those parts and then trying to relate them back to each other. We need to think in systems. The world is a system. The economy is a system. Sustainable development goals are a system. Our energy infrastructure is a system. And then going beyond just structures, moving into understanding processes and going beyond hierarchies and thinking about networks. It's a nested networks is a key concept. Going beyond an object into the relationship between things. So with that, I'll move into the second piece of this. I want to introduce you to Gaia and make sure that I get through this in time, that I don't make you guys late for your next agenda piece. So this is one point to make clear that the Society of Petroleum Engineers has been at this sustainability thing for over a decade. So I'm not going to go into any of the details here, but you can see this timeline that goes back over a decade, highlighting many of the exciting and innovative things that have been done over time. It was mentioned that Joanna Dunlop played an important role in a lot of this, as have many others. Bruce Fatahi is a former president and a number of others that I think we should recognize. So what is the Gaia Sustainability Program? Essentially, it is 3 main things. It's a unifying brand. So you have events like today's event. It may not be hosted by the Gaia initiative, but it can hold the Gaia branding of this SPE Gaia Sustainability Program. It's also an aligned system of actors, and it's an ecosystem of aligned actors, which means that we have all these different people that are not just within the SPE. We also have all sorts of other sister societies in the energy industry, many of which you heard mentioned by Tom and also Kamel and Asur. And we also have IEA involved. We have Oil and Gas Climate Initiative and many other organizations. We also have some environmental NGOs like the Natural. I'm trying to think all the names of them. Can't even remember them all now. But it's a huge group of aligned actors. And third, it's a strategic programming framework. And so if you haven't gone out to look at the SP Live events, I encourage you to go out and look there. You can find them. I'll share a link at the end of this. You can find them at that link, and you'll see that they're all recorded, so you can watch them after the fact, or you can engage in those real time. But there's so much incredible information out there that it's free for your use as an SPE member. So this concept of Gaia is here to help us align on a vision for humanity that can operate within planetary boundaries. And we're open to your input on this, of course. We want to make sure, are we doing enough fast enough? That's the question. We have to rise to the scale of urgency. We have to build on our members' core and transferable skills. So don't forget, the skills that you have today are incredibly valuable in this energy transition. If we want to, sequester enough carbon capture and sequestration underground is a key enabler. And if you think about the size of the oil and gas industry today, the amount of fluids and gases that we move back and forth around the world, the number of wells that we have, the facilities that we have, in order to meet the ambition and actually deliver for carbon capture sequestration, you need an industry the size of the current oil and gas industry, putting the carbon back into the ground. It's big, and your skills are necessary and very valuable there. Estimating how much pore space you have underground, understanding, the facilities constraints, debottlenecking facilities, drilling, completing wells, surveilling them, optimizing their production, understanding seal integrity for the reservoir seal, and so forth and so on. 4D seismic. I mean, all this stuff is relevant. You know how to do these things. We also want to provide a safe space for learning and engagement, and make sure that people understand that oil and gas is critical and will lead to this energy transition. So you can see behind me, and as well here on this slide, a 9-element strategic programming framework. We have 3 principles. The first of which, when I talked about that the world sees the industry as one thing, but the industry doesn't act like one thing, we need to aggregate our efforts to create a more felt positive impact. We need to collaborate, and we also have to engage the public. On the pathways, we want to make sure that the work that SPE does is additional. There's a lot of great stuff happening out there that the SPE is not involved in. So we want to see where we play a role with SPE's strength around R&D and innovation, around measuring what matters. I'll talk more about that in a second, and around listening and communication. And that all kind of sits against our 3 priorities that we've got, and that's energy system transformation, natural capital and regeneration, and social responsibilities. So here's an example of Gaia natural capital regeneration in action. It's the SPE tree program guide. This is a guide that's been built to help you with ecosystem regeneration in your own area, in your own community. So I was involved a couple of weekends ago planting some trees in urban areas around New Orleans, Louisiana, in the USA, and we were able to share this guide with this third-party NGO that was managing this tree planting, and they've actually been able to take on board some of the guidance here. So it's a fantastic resource, and I'll share a place where you can download this. And then I'll move into another of our kind of primary pathways, which is around measuring what matters. And so I think one of the most famous quotes here is from the famous Peter Drucker, that you can't manage what you don't measure. If you look at a lot of our greenhouse gas emissions, our sustainability reporting for the environmental, it was an ERG, environmental something and governance. I'm sorry, I'm skipping my mind at the moment. That type of reporting, a lot of that stuff is actually estimated. A lot of our greenhouse gas emissions are estimated, our methane emissions are estimated. We have to find ways of measuring it more accurately and using those measurements, whether it be through satellite imagery or drones or infrared cameras or whatever it might be, to find those leaks and eliminate them. So this has to be a balanced consideration across all 9 planetary boundaries. And so this is across the biodiversity, natural capital area, pollution, natural cycles. So this is after Johan Rockström and the Stockholm Resilience Center. You can see all these different 9 planetary boundaries, and there's a great sort of movie about this that I highly recommend if you look up Planetary Boundaries documentary. And so international focus, you see the COP26 that's happening right now that Kamel actually made his report from. there's a lot of focus on the oil and gas industry, and we have one of the most important levers to impact climate change within our direct control. I wonder if you could guess which one that might be. It's methane. So methane has contributed to around 30% of the rise in global temperatures to date. So that's a big deal. Curbing emissions of methane is one of the most effective means of curbing climate change. And that's because over a 20-year period, methane is 80 times more potent as a greenhouse gas as is CO2. And there's a lot of these options that we've got that are cost effective, many that are profitable and some that are break even. So just only doing that much could have a big impact. Our operations, we generate 120 megatons of methane in 2020. And you multiply that times 8, and you think about the impact against that 40 gigatons of overall budget that we have per annum, in the next 10 years that we need to start cutting. That's a big number. So, nearly 1/3 of all methane from human activity is coming from our industry. So it's possible now to avoid more than 70% of current emissions with existing technology, 45% of total emissions at no net cost. So it's impressive. So if you look at our role, I mean, there's other sources of emissions with livestock and landfills and coal mining, rice, wastewater, sure. But here's our industry's role right here in oil and gas. And you can see the amount that's technically and economically feasible and technically feasible and the residual. We can get pretty far with stuff that we know how to do today that we can actually make money doing. And so if you look at the amount of reduction, if we were able to reduce by 45% all of those anthropogenic methane emissions, which is all of this stuff, then you can avoid by 2030 or by 2040, I guess, you cut this by 40% by 2030, and by 2040 you avoid 0.3 degrees C of warming, which is a big deal. We're talking about 1.5 degrees C or 2 degrees C. 0.3 is a big deal. And so you look at some of the different sources there. You've seen that over 100 countries have committed to reducing methane emissions, and if that went through as it's committed to, just that piece alone was 0.2 degrees. So that's impressive progress. So I'd like to invite you to join our SPE LinkedIn Gaia community. It's called the SPE Gaia Sustainability Community, and you can look that up on LinkedIn and join. We have 850 members already, and it's growing rapidly. It's a very vibrant and an interesting network, and there's a ton of great content that's being shared there. So if you want to learn more about these topics, it's a continuous stream of activity that you can learn from. So I'll share some of these resources with you in the chat afterwards, and I want to make those available. And I just kind of conclude by saying thank you so much for enabling me to come and join and speak to you today. I ask for you to get more involved, take more of responsibility and accountability in this space, and to join us at SPE Gaia program, and wish you the best of luck with your projects that you build and the pitches that you deliver over the next week. I have great confidence that you'll do a fantastic job. So thank you all for your time and attention. Luca, Maria Julia, and others, back over to you.
Thank you very much, Josh. It was really interesting, and also I suggest you to use also the information, the link, and the things that Josh and also, for example, Leon presented in the chat, because it's really interesting and it's one of the hot topic of the next year. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we are switching to quick break in order to relax a little bit ourselves and recover for the next workshop, which will be taken in 10 minutes break. During the break, if you need some information, some hints and etc., Julia, I think that it's available to explain something more about the rules of the Ideathon, actually.
Yes, I can stay here if someone has some questions. Also, maybe we can.
Yes, Luca. Hello, Luca.
Hello.
Yeah, I had one. I'm Parag from India. I had one question for Josh that I posted on the chat box. That if you can take that question. in this energy dominated era? One. Yeah.
Okay, I saw it. I'm just looking.
It starts with in this energy dominated era. So
yeah, I see it. So in this energy dominated era, how seriously the various losses at the ground level are taken into account by the energy developers, companies, and governance. So you're asking about, you know, some of the inefficiencies that we deal with. Is that your question?
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah. You know, I think it's taken into consideration. There's been a lot of discussion about efficiency, you know, in various different sort of forums. Energy efficiency is a funny thing, actually. I mean, I didn't really get to this in my comments, but what's strange is, like, if you increase the energy efficiency of a motor vehicle, like a car, which has happened, there's been a huge improvement in efficiency over the past decades. What often happens is that energy efficiency gets invested in greater horsepower, in more. So you know, there's been some overall reduction of overall emissions from vehicles, for instance, but as efficiency has gone up, the amount of energy use has not gone down in a one-to-one basis. It's gone down as a fraction of that efficiency gain. So so I think I'd expand it beyond efficiency. I would expand it to be more about the total amount of energy that's consumed, which is, you know, you can improve that by improving the efficiency of the overall value chain, but there needs to be some focus on actual consumption reduction. So I think it's talked about a lot, but I don't believe this has been a great focus. I think, you know, you talk about the shiny object syndrome. People look at, you know, the new technologies and the direct air carbon capture, and you look at, you know, wind and solar and offshore wind and, you know, hydrogen. I mean, these are the things that attract a lot of our attention. It takes a lot longer to scale those technologies up and actually have an impact with them as it would just focusing on energy efficiency improvements and ways of reducing consumption. So I think that's a faster near-term way to make an impact. Does that answer your question, Parag?
Yes, Josh. Thanks a lot, and it was a wonderful presentation. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And now the coffee break. Yeah.
Okay.
10 minutes sharp.
Yeah, we
so
can
start in 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes, please.
Maybe if you want, you can switch on your camera. Maybe we take a picture or together for who wants to. I mean, a picture, a screenshot, since we are still in this virtual mode.
Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Will you do it, Julia?
Yeah, I'll connect with the others' screenshot so we can stay in more.
You know, it's great to see you all, guys, and I would like to thank all of you again for, you know, making the effort. It's a Saturday. It's probably early morning time or late night time, depending on your time zone. But yeah, thank you very much to everyone for being with us today. It's really a nice energy from all of you YPs. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And now it's time for the fourth special guest of today, which is Marinma Dorado. She is an advisor for SPE BML committee, which, as previously mentioned also by Kamel, is the Business Management and Leadership Committee, and she works as a consultant and business coach. In her talk, Marinma will provide some tips for working in teams using what she calls and what has been called the BML skills. Previously, also Kamel in his presentations said about some soft skills which are critical, and what the BML usually calls the BML skills is potentially much more than just soft skills. BML skills can be considered as non-technical skills that help people work from purpose and not ego when creating a project, having a clear intention, igniting the passion of the team members, and using inspiration as a key aspect of leadership. There are more BML skills than what I just mentioned, but these are some of the key ones in which Marinma will specializes and what she will talk about, and she will provide tangible evidence for the participants of the Ideathon to create effective results. With her 26 years of experience in the oil and gas industry, in the business world, first as a petroleum engineer selling software, simulation software to oil and gas companies in many places of the world, such as the US, London, Venezuela, Mexico, and then starting her own coaching company, which is called Mindset Results. Marinma has helped many teams and individuals around the world to produce results inspired by a common purpose, getting clear and igniting their individual passions. Please, Marinma, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Matteo. Matteo. Okay. Yes, well, today I am not going to share any slides because I want to focus on communicating and looking at you in the eye and focus in your heart. So we're switching gears. We have been talking about technology. We have been talking about a lot of numbers. And now I'm going to go a little bit about the intangible. I'm going to go into the storytelling, because those are complementary skills that are going to help us to connect with the heart of society that have turned against us. And we need to win those hearts and minds again. So in my background, yes, I am from Spain, studied chemical engineering in Madrid, went to study a master's in petroleum engineering in London, where I fell in love with those oil platforms, all the models that were in the department, and with the diversity in my class. There were people from 40 different nationalities. And I really, and then the SPE connected with me when I was doing that master's degree in London. So I became a member many years ago, 1994. This is how old I am. And I became a member of the SPE. Then shortly after, I moved to Houston and I started working there. Why I'm telling you this? Just because I just wanted to give you a little bit of background, how I got to know what is called now the BML skills that before were the soft skills. But I think that it's interesting how I got to know these soft skills and how I got involved, because it tells you how early there were visionaries like Giovanni Paccaloni, like Beshru Fatani, like Susan Hose, I think it's Natalia Milanovic. I see in the paper is N Milanovic, so I hope it's Natalia. And all these people were already visionaries in 2011 in terms of the non-technical skills that were going to be necessary for the petroleum engineers. And how I found about it is that I had been in very technical roles, selling software simulation for production simulation, wells and pipelines for many years. And after 10 years of doing that, I noticed that there was something missing. I noticed a lot of people, including me, were working mostly for money. And there was a lack of meaning. And when people start pushing and pushing in their work without meaning, they ended up being burned out or too stressed out, or the things that they were doing suddenly made no sense. So I decided to reinvent myself and go into the area of coaching to help people to discover their passion and ignite that passion. So I was starting to do that in 2012, and I saw a poster of an offshore platform in my kitchen, because my husband happened to be in an offshore company for engineering, offshore engineering. And then that brought me so many memories, because at that time, I would have been like 4 or 5 years outside the oil industry. So then I thought, hold on a minute, maybe there is something inside the oil industry that connects with passion and purpose. So I did some research, And I found this article from these people that I told you about, Baruch Fatani and Giovanni Pacaloni, and this sentence stuck with me, and it's from 2012. So 9 years ago, these visionaries were saying forward-looking companies will require a new generation of professionals who are able to inspire and motivate and who display leadership behavior regardless of their position in the organization. It reminded me to this book by Robin Sharma, The Leader Who Had No Title, that no matter where you are in the organization, whether you are the CEO or you are a normal reservoir engineer, you need to display that leadership. And then I thought, oh my God, this is my tribe. As Maria Julia was saying earlier, this is my crew. So I reached out to them and I got started back. I re-enrolled in the SPE. I became a member of the soft skills committee. So as the soft skills committee developed, at one point it became the realization that we want to introduce also the business aspect. If the business doesn't go well, if the business disappears, there's nothing that we can do. We want to introduce management, we want to introduce leadership. So that's how we became the BML, Business Management and Leadership Group. But those skills of intrinsic motivation, happiness skills, resilience, purpose, even recently, as meditation and mindfulness have become more mainstream, even introducing some of those aspects as well. So some petroleum engineers will ask themselves, hold on a minute, what is meditation and mindfulness had to do with anything? So then comes COVID. And then is when a lot of people had to resort to meditation and to mindfulness in order to calm the mind when we were all stressed. We have seen people dying. We didn't know what was going to happen to our loved ones. This is the aspect of well-being that we needed to have in order to be resilient. And in 2020, the BML put an amazing amount of posts on LinkedIn to bring people's spirit up. So we say that the purpose of the BML is energizing the world. It's a different type of energy. It's not electrons, it's not molecules, it's an emotional energy, it's a spiritual energy, it's energy from the heart. So how can we bring these BML skills? How can we bring them to your teams for your ideation? So I wanted to give you some specific tips. When you are working with your teams, how can you bring these BML skills to make them more effective? You know, I remember when I was in my MBA, at the young MBA, also in London. I came back to London to do this, also in Imperial College in 2002. And at that time, I had not investigated purpose. I had not investigated ego. Oh my God, it was a little bit of a disaster in the sense that let's try to choose one company to do the project from the MBA around. Chaos. Everybody wanted to have their way. Everybody wanted to have their choice. Nobody said, oh no, well, oh, your idea sounds good. No, it's my idea. The one's better. Then finally, the one that screamed the louder is the one who got their way. Then how do we distribute the pieces? How do we bring ideas? We couldn't get along. We couldn't agree because we were totally in our ego. So the tips that I'm going to give you when you get together, and I don't know if it's going to be a group of 4, a group of 5, the first thing that I want you to do, that I will propose that you do, is ask yourself, why are you doing this? Why do you want to contribute to society with a sustainable project? Why do you want to contribute at all to mankind? And what's your purpose? And trying to come up with some statements, you don't need to come up with like one word. It could be like a sentence. We want to, whatever. We want to deliver a better world for future generations. So we want to save the coral reef. So something that really inspired to all of you, because when you are in that purpose, you are not going to be in your individual ego. Purpose for a contribution that is bigger than yours is the antidote for ego. I really advise you to do that. The second thing that I will advise you to do, once you have gotten this common purpose, is that you check with each person what is their individual passion, what drives them the most within the sustainability development goals, within what's going on. Each of us have something different that inspire us. And I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm from Spain, but I now live in the South Holland, near Delft, in actually a small village called Den Hoorn, which is actually part of a slow città. A slow città is an Italian generated network of cities that have a slower life, more sustainable, slower. And in there, my neighbor, who is already retired, she's 65, which is a force on nature, she started a biodiversity project. So let's have 500 square meters more of green and biodiversity in the street. So people started to put more green in their gardens, to put more greens in their sheds, and also in front of the canal. And we got those 500 square meters. And even when I'm connected with sustainability, I was always like trying to force myself to do something for biodiversity, but I wasn't really so inspired. So my neighbor was always chasing me, and she was collaborating mostly with other people, and I'll do kind of the minimum. Then the project is finished, we got those 500 square meters, and then we start an energy transition program. Then you see me there, the first one in the meeting, taking notes, sending summaries, creating another meetings. Why? Because now what we plan to do is for the whole neighborhood is to bring renewable energies, to connect with the sponsors for geothermal energy, for whatever. My summary of this, my conclusion of this is that as I was more inspired for this other aspect, I am going to take more action. Therefore, I'm going to be more in my excellence. I'm going to be more in my productivity. So this is what I want for you as a team, as individual members. Go around the room and find out what inspires each person. It's not the same. We are all different. We all come with our blueprint. We need to discover. It's actually our responsibility. It's not the responsibility of our employers. It's not the responsibility of our parents. It's not the responsibility of our partners. We need to discover what drives us, because there is no time to waste. We know that we are in an emergency. And that reservoir of human passion is one of the most fundamental aspects that is going to produce change. What else? Then you start your project, because this is the foundation. You have your passion, which is common, you have your purpose, and then there is a problem, then people start arguing, they don't get along with something. I will say, stop, breathe in, breathe out, and take a moment to come back to why are you doing this? Because that is what is going to get you out of the ego. And remember that this is connected with your passion. This is fun. This is interesting for you. So come back to that space. Third thing that I advise you to do. Look together the sustainability development goals. And in order to select the idea for your project, decide on the one sustainability development goal that you are going to align it with. And within that, what is the sub-goals that are under the goals? So there is a lot to choose. And if you go to the goals and you go to the sub-goals, you will be going you will find something more specific. You will find the what. So many of you are familiar with Simon Sinek, Start with Why. or his TED talk already have 56 million views. So it's one that is very interesting because it talks to you about the golden circle. It talks about the why, the how, and the what. And it says that most companies in the world know what they do. So you ask a company, oh, what do you do? And they go, oh yeah, we produce wind turbines, and we have the tallest wind turbines and this and that. So they know their what, right? So how do you do it? Well, it started to get a little bit more fuzzy. Now, why do you do it? Then they're lost. And in this talk, actually the name of the talk is How Great Leaders Inspire Action. Simon Sinek gives examples, very concrete examples, that the most successful companies in the world know their why. So I really recommend you that you know your why. Start with your why, then your how, that are the values, the passions, and eventually decide on the what. How is your project eventually going to be tangible? How it's going to contribute to the world? Somebody is asking in the chat what the BML skills had to do with any of this. I'm talking about BML skills. This is where it's at. The clarity of knowing who we are and why we want to do this and what is the energy that moves us. Those are some of the most important BML skills, because it's going to take us to another one, which is resilience. When are we more resilient? When we are operating from that passion and purpose, or when we are not, when we are doing something that has no meaning. Right now in the US, they are talking about something called the Great Resignation. What is it? 40 million people quitting their jobs. Why? Because what COVID has done is has put death and sickness in front of our eyes. And for many people, it has been a wake-up call to realize that they were doing a job that had no meaning and no purpose for them. And when they were going to the office and they had a moment in the cafeteria, having a coffee with someone, then they came back to their desk, they could tolerate their jobs. When that same job had to be done at home with the kids running around or with no kids, or completely in complete isolation, it became unbearable. So in order to be resilient, people need to be connected with what's meaningful to them. So now I have brought you how these BML skills can help you to put the foundation for your project. Now I'm going to take it to the next level of making it tangible. And by the way, I will then send you an outline with a summary of all these points. Okay, so then people can check in bullet points, as some people I know prefer bullet points that they can review. So I wanted to give you some tips in terms of when you actually start with your ideas and you start going towards the completion of your project, you are going to have to do meetings, a lot of meetings. And the problem with the meetings is to distribute the time, how people speak, because there's normally someone who speaks a lot and someone who doesn't say anything. And sometimes that's a problem, because sometimes there is someone who wouldn't shut up and it monopolizes the meeting. So this is a very effective way that you could use, that is do things with a timer and divide the meetings and this structure. I'm going to propose a specific structure for you, okay? The first of all is, if you have, for example, 5 team members, each person is going to speak 2 minutes about the wins. So if you have been doing something together and then you had to go and do some work separate and then come back, What has been your progress? What has been your win? What is working? Let's celebrate first what is working. And each person has, for example, 2 minutes or 3 minutes with a timer. Put it on your phone, beep, 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 finish. Next, right? So you have your wins, and with your wins, every time someone brings their win, you celebrate, and you bring that positive energy, and you remember why you're doing this. And you do something else. You take notes. You take notes on something that I'm going to explain in a moment that is called synergy. You're working in a team because the sum of the parts is bigger than the individual members. And that is another aspect of the BML, create synergy in teams, right? So when someone is explaining their wins, if something resonates with you, it's like, oh, very interesting. I also want to do that. You write it down. Okay, so the first element is wins. Second element, ask for support. What is this? This is an opportunity to be vulnerable and to say, look, this is not working for me. For example, you have given me the assignment to do all these statistical calculations, and it's not going right for me. Who can help me? Right? Put that in front of the team. Leave your ego at the door. I'm sure that somebody's going to say, oh, I'm very good at that. So I can do this and you can do this for me. So there is a second moment for support. And again, with a timer, 2 minutes each, something like that. Third element, review the goals. Which goals each person has individually and as a group. Let's come back again. What do we want to create? What do we want to achieve? Okay. Fourth element, the synergy. So each person is going to say, who have you found synergy with, right? I was thinking up of an example, just came to me. For example, that someone said, inspired in Maria Julia, someone said, oh, I'm visualizing a wave energy converter. And then someone said, oh, that resonates with me. I found some synergy with you because I have a contact in Aberdeen and can find a good location for that wave converter. And maybe somebody said, oh, I have a friend that designs cables that brings the electricity to shore. And somebody said, well, I know someone who can visualize the electricity and the energy management in a digital platform, right? So you are feeding off each other. That's synergy. And then fifth element, I will propose to you that in each meeting, there is one person that brings a 10 minutes of personal growth or personal development method. So each person, just you decide whatever you want to bring, what is it? And then have this moment of inspiration, have this moment of personal growth, which is also what BML skills are all about. And in order to finalize, I wanted to give my perspective of growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And I wanted to connect it with the sustainability and energy transition challenge. And I really like what Tom brought to the table. I wanted to explain it a little bit different with an example. Fixed mindset. Fixed mindset is that, well, this cannot be done. It's very difficult. It has never been done. So for me, an example, when I was working in Spain, I remember in a multinational in 2010, I asked my boss that I wanted to work from home. And he said, no, that cannot be done. That's impossible. Right? I mean, I said, well, why? Because when I moved to Spain, before I was in Spain, I was living in the US, in the UK, and I worked from home many days. So no, this is impossible. So that's fixed mindset, right? Then fast forward 10 years, 2020, when the COVID emergency hit, the Spanish government declared the state of emergency. So from 1 week to the next, every single office, except for some emergency, was shut down. So the whole country had to work from home. Suddenly it was possible, right? So people had to figure out a way to do it. And for some it was easy, for some it was difficult, but they had to find a way. What is growth mindset? Growth mindset is the belief that whatever you want to do, there is a teacher, there is a tool, there is a book, there is someone that is going to help you to do it. That's the growth mindset. And then here in this community, we must have this growth mindset, in my opinion, that there is one way to communicate with society and let them see our heart. There will be one way. There will be someone who can communicate. There will be a book. There will be a teacher. There will be a method. There will be something that we can do. Maybe it's that we say, this is it. We are going to remove 70% of methane, and we are going to do it in such an impeccable way that is going to melt the hearts of the world. But this is the intention that I want to put to you, that we have that growth mindset, that we have the belief that what now seems impossible, that is to conquer the heart of the world, it will be possible. And that's what the BML group also can do for you. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Marina. Really, really inspiring. Well, now the special guests' speeches are over, and I would like to thank you very much, you, Marina, and Josh, Tom, and Kamel as well, for the keynotes and for all the hints that you gave us and you gave to the YP community here. Now I'm gonna leave the floor to Julia, and I will ask all of you Ideathon participants, team members, and mentors to focus, because we're gonna give, she's gonna give us the the rules of the game, basically of the competition. And well, Julia, the floor is yours. Are you with us?
Thanks. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Thanks.
So now we are starting an operative part. So we had a very inspiring keynotes, and I really would like to thank all the speakers. They were really all great speeches. And so now I'm a little bit sorry, I'm gonna do the bad guy, giving you the rules of the game, but also it's very useful because then you know how to do the projects somehow. So Matteo, can you enable my screen sharing, please?
There you go.
Perfect.
Sorry.
So thanks a lot, and we are here, and thanks to the support of Spe Gaia Sustainability Program, Diversity Inclusion Committee. And this event, as you know, is organized by the Young Member Engagement Committee, Business Management and Leadership Committee, and the Beyond the Borders Committee. You had all the agenda in the beginning. I will just focus here on the Ideathon, just because the other events are more traditional, I would say. This one needs a little bit more proactive attitude from you. So first of all, thank you to all of you that are here. Also, another important information, that this session, there is a similar one, and it is already online. And so if you miss, and if you need, or if you miss any information, you already have the recorded version, and I share the link with all of you. So for who is this Ideathon? Is for all of you, and really thanks you to be here and to be the kind of people we are looking for, who are young professional, student, SP members with a strong background in energy and oil and gas discipline, that are passionate in making the oil and gas industry and earth energy systems more sustainable. motivated and inspired by the Sustainable Development Goals. I hope you're going to have a creative and active thinker attitude with solution and solution oriented. And I hope you're not going to have a fixed mindset, but you want to have a growing mindset. So you are willing to learn something new, to improve yourself. Also put yourself in a little bit out of comfort zone. And of course, while you're improving yourself here, we want also to improve our industry, community, and society. This is the why of Maritma somehow, and the purpose of this event. Of course, I hope you are interested in a little bit of competition, friendly, fun, and to meet other people similar to you. So the things I really want to highlight here is that this event is for all the 5 continents. So we try to put in multinational teams. And there are many other events, as you saw in the initial event, like the WIMEC Bootcamp and the Final Sustainability Panel. So we try to give you the most we can, and I hope you enjoy a lot. So there isn't just the Ideathon, there are many other sessions. Here we focus on the Ideathon just because it needs a little bit more of preparation and rules. Which is the expected committee? Let's say that the expected committee is a light teamwork, and then you're gonna have a pitch on the 13th of November, same times than now. So this is the most important thing is that you're present into the pitch and you're wonderful in your pitch, and the pitch is the only thing that is gonna be somehow evaluated. So here there is the full agenda. I mean, we divided the Ideathon into 3 phases. Phase 1, the kickoff that is today. Phase 2 is gonna be offline, so you work on the solution. And phase 3 are the pitches and the award. So the agenda, you already had the one of today, and we are almost at the end, so teams and project assignments. And then on the 13th, there is going to be at the same time the pitches and the sustainability panel. Of course, during this, you can also choose if you want to follow other teams' pitches or you want to follow the sustainability panel. The sustainability panel is going to be open event, so everyone can join, since we have very prestigious speakers as today. And then after a break, we are going to have an award ceremony and the debriefing and private feedback. Then in some days, we also send you a certificate for this event, but just give us some time, since probably it's going to arrive by the end of the month, let's say, but it will arrive. So if you don't receive, just text us and we will fix it. So let's start with the rules of the second phase, the solution. I would say that the solution are going to have 3 parts. The one is the brainstorming, the first part. And the one is elaborate the true solution, let's say the true presentation. And then there is the presentation for itself to the judges, who are all people really that are really linked with sustainability. So it's also a great opportunity to talk in front of these juries. And we have also here with us Joanna, who was the previous chair of Spe Gaia Sustainability Program, and he's going to be part of the jury. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting for you. And as I told you, I mean, this is an event to have fun, but use also as an opportunity to exchange with us, with the juries, with all the experts that you're going to meet. It is important to respect the time. We want, let's say, 5 slides maximum, let's say, and 5-minute pitch. So we don't want too much. It's like 5-minute speech, and you're gonna answer to 3 minutes questions. So 8 minutes for a team, and then we have to stop and go to the next team. So be sharp on what you want to say. On this part, let's say that the mentors, I mean, the teams is the owner of the project. The mentor is there to help. If you have some doubts, or maybe if you want to know what do you think will impress more the jury, this or this one. So you should have a proactive attitude towards the mentor. It's not that the mentor is a coordinator. The coordinator should be one inside the team. So someone can take the role of coordinator, someone can take the role of the presenter. Depending on your skills, on your ability, everyone are going to have a role inside the team. The mentor is there to help. And I mean, if you have some questions about the rules, you can ask to the mentor, but you can also ask me and Matteo and Luca and all the people in the organization, because the mentor is a person like you, but maybe has just a little bit more experience in the industry, so can somehow give some guidelines. And this is an idea of the evaluation criteria that you can keep in mind while doing the project. So first of all, the mentors will somehow evaluate how you work together. So how you are proactive towards the mentors, how you behave between you, how organized are you, how inclusive are you in the team, something like that. And so this is gonna be part of the mentors. The jury will evaluate the identified solution, the pitch and presentation. Regarding the evaluation criteria, we have two parts. From one side is the work, let's say the overall results for the team. And this is the only part that we will use for the award. So only the evaluations for the team are going to be used for the award. Then we also would like to provide an individual feedback that is private and personal and will be provided only to the people who ask for it. I mean, the mentor probably will prepare for every one of you, but only who asks is gonna receive that. Why? Because we really want to give you the idea of the growing mindset. And I mean, we are not a school anymore where you do the exam and you receive as a professor the grade. We are in a more flexible environment, and you need to ask feedbacks to the people around you. The most feedback you receive, the best it is. Of course, the feedback is, I mean, everything feedback, I like to think, you have to divide it by 88 billion people. So everything feedback is one point of view and is relative depending on many things, on maybe your situation, the connections. I mean, there are many things that can influence a feedback, but every feedback brings you something, brings you a gift. Maybe you wanted to do something good, you did something, the results was bad. So why? And if you receive the feedback, you are able to improve on that. If you don't receive the feedback, maybe the next time you're gonna do the same and you don't even understand the problem. So this is why we thought about that. Regarding the individual feedback, we put all our BML skills, the famous BML skills, business management and leadership skills. And so the ones where we like to work, who are, and we adapt them as from Josh's presentation to the sustainable environment. So for example, nowadays leadership should be inclusive. We don't want hierarchy anymore. So somehow we are going to evaluate inclusive leadership, effective communication, negotiation, influencing and motivating, decision-making, entrepreneurship, work ethics, empathy. Empathy is another typical skills linked with sustainability and probably not very linked with a previous way of working based much on the hierarchy, on power, you know, that we saw hierarchy against network. So try to develop a network of people here. Interpersonal skills, and then we will give to personal strength or to personal weakness. So also consider that the mentor is seeing you very few. So of course the point of view can be partial because there are not so many ways to interact, but still can be an indication. So regarding the award, so who's gonna win this award? I mean, we are gonna be divided in teamwork, final work, so the identify solution, final work, the pitch and presentation. These are different ways. The most important is the identify solution, but there is a relevant way also for pitch and presentation and teamwork. The teamwork is going to be provided by the mentors, and the final work is going to be provided by the jury. Which are the things that are going to be evaluated in the solution? If the solution is original, so for example, we don't want to hear, I want to do CCUS. I mean, all the world is saying that we want to do CCUS, all the world is saying we want to invest on hydrogen. So this is not what we are looking for. We want something that is specific, let's say. I mean, if you just say, maybe I want to develop CCUS in this field because I think that this can bring this new opportunity, something like that, that could be a way. So completeness, focus on the problem, feasibility, ability to identify the stakeholders, so the people who have to talk with to realize it, because really we want that this project is somehow an elevator pitch for you if tomorrow you meet your chief sustainability in your elevator, and we want that you will be able to present a project, and maybe this project can be realized. Or you can also send him the project, say, oh, I've done this, what do you think? And this is really something that you have to do with a business mindset, a feasibility mindset, something that can be really done tomorrow, let's say. And then the ability to define execution and implementation plan. For a pitch and presentation, of course, I mean, fireworks are always welcome, but of course, also a clean presentation is very good as the one with examples that was, I mean, focus only on the necessary content. So but of course, also presentation is a skill that we need to develop. So we are expecting that this work can be done in 5-6 hours, maybe a little bit more. We suggest you first focus on the brainstorming. You send us your idea and and the sustainable development goals where you want to focus, and then you divide the slides. Everyone does one slide, maybe sometimes to uniform all the slides together, and then you send the proposal. So we think that maybe 3 hours of brainstorming and 2 hours for each of you to do one slide, and then 1 hour to uniform the presentation and send to us. Mentors can help through progress meetings. We can think 2 1-hour progress meetings or 4 or half an hour. I mean, it depends on your need. Of course, it can be more, but just consider that the team has to do the work, and maybe inside the team there should be a coordinator. That mentor is just if you have doubts, if you need support, to show maybe before to show to the jury, to receive a feedback before the jury's feedback. Respect the most important deliveries. So the most important deliveries are, after that, there are 2 important points. One is Monday evening. We just need the 1-page idea and 1 page with the team. Why? This is not going to be evaluated. It's just for us to see how many teams are going on, how many people there are in the teams, because you saw at the beginning, I mean, we have 1 team with 1 participant and we have to move the participants. So we also know what is happening. Of course, we can't know what's happening in your teams. So this is a way to check if everything is going well, if you are online with the times, because if by Monday you haven't choose your idea, you haven't choose your United Nations Development Sustainable Goals, probably during the week, since we also need to work and since we need to have deliveries of work, I mean, if by Monday you haven't choose the idea, probably you won't be able to send the final idea on Friday. And also we need to organize the juries. So how many juries and all these things, depending on how many ideas we receive. So also if it's not very precise or not very, with all the details as the one in the examples, we just need to know that the Teams is good, is working. You have choose your goals, and you have choose an abstract, an overall idea. That's very simple. No fancy things here. On Friday, we are going to receive your final presentation. Then on Saturday, there is going to be the pitch. So by the night of Friday and Saturday, or the morning of Saturday, you can still change something. Of course, the jury will see your final result, but still it's for us to organize somehow the juries, because maybe if we're going to have 6 ideas, we organize just 1 jury. If we are going to have 15 ideas, we need to split. Here there is the way to send us the material. You can upload here. You can see here, I mean, every team can see everything, but we are thinking that you're gonna upload at the last minute. So there is no time to steal from another team, let's say. So I think it's not a problem. But if you think it's going to be a problem, you can privately send us a tool here. I would suggest to send in any case, because on the Google Drive, there always can be some problems. So you upload here, and we also share this with the jury so the jury can see your project a little bit before. Otherwise, you send us. Okay, and this is the point. So start with which is, sorry?
Now someone forgot the audio on. Yeah, go ahead.
So let's start, which is the assignment. You have to imagine to be the sustainability division of an oil company. And you want to invest 5 million USD to finance a sustainable project. This is very important to set you inside the problem, because first of all, we want to work with limited resources. So I heard already something say, but 5 million is very few. It's not few. I mean, it's like, what would you do tomorrow with 5 million? If you don't know what to do tomorrow with 5 million, something sustainable, I mean, there's a problem. Maybe there is not your dream project, but if you have a dream project, you can use this 5 million as a start. And then you show me how you want to increase this 5 million to reach your dream project. That could be an idea. But still calibrate with the things. For example, I'm expecting that international infrastructure for CCUS is not going to be one project of the sustainability division of an company. It's going to be a project involving many departments of many oil companies and probably also by the governments. So this is another order of size. Our order of size is a little bit smaller. So try to focus on something small. Of course, you can still think, I started with 5 million, but I want to reach more. But I think the best way now is to focus on what you can do with this amount of money. And of course, try to create all the set for your project. So I don't say I want to electrify a platform, okay? Because this is already been done, it's not original, okay? Say, maybe we want to be, for example, Equinor. We have many offshore fields, and I think that this field is a piloting for new technologies, and I have a new technologies that I want to test, and so I'm choosing this project to test this new technology to electrify the platform, for example. This is a good project. So the other point is that this should be based on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I really like a comment of Leon while there was the event, who say now there is the COP 26. This is our small COP 26. We want to focus, and we have some similarities with the United Nations, since we are a no-profit organization here, and we want to improve the world. We are experts in energy. We come from all over the world. We believe in diversity. We believe in inclusion, and we want to be inspired by a common feelings of doing something good. So this is why we choose these United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And try also, if you don't have initially some ideas, look what other things other companies are doing of the same order of size, because this is really something that you can propose to the Chief of Sustainability of ENI tomorrow, for example. So, I mean, never say never. And so you can be somehow inspired by what are doing the others, and also try to do a little bit of benchmarking. It is appreciated if you present an idea to say which is the status of art, for example. Here a slide with the United Sustainable Development Goals. Why? Because as we also saw with Josh, of course, much of our attention is on climate action. And that's probably the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that is going to have more investment. So of course, I'm expecting to have many projects on climate actions, but sustainability is a much wider spectrum. So there is also social sustainability, so no poverty. There are active and passive politics for work, for example. Zero hunger, so for example, there is sustainable agriculture. I mean, there is quality education, gender equality. There is partnership for some goals. I mean, you can also decide to create a partnership as a project, for example. There is biodiversity. There is the reduced inequalities. That's also very important. And I mean, there are many things on which you can focus. There is also governance. So of course, I mean, is increasing transparency in the process can help to avoid somehow problems that there can be linked, for example, with corruption or other problems that there can be in the corporation. So of course you can choose whatever you want. The important thing that you align. I mean, you follow your passion, but you respect also the ideas of other participants. So you choose together. You maybe, if 5 people want to do one and you want to do another one, you can align with the rest of the team, and then you work on your deliveries. Here there is an example I sent you in these days of what it is expected. So by Monday, I say it's not evaluated, it's just for us to know if you are okay. We want to know who are you in the team, who is active actually. So put only the people who are active, because we know that maybe some people can participate at the last moment. Try to choose a title. Try to delineate something. I mean, I put here some elements. Maybe we can see from the PowerPoint. I put here raw unmet need, so which is the problem, and here you also put your United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There can be more than one. I mean, as you wish, of course. If your project touch more than one, you put more than one, but one is enough, let's say. Why your solution work and why it is better. So since it is a competition, we also want to know why it is better than the one that are actual ongoing. And focus that this is more a business solution than a technical solution. So if you tell me why your direct air capture is working better than another direct air capture, for example, this is not the place, of course, but this is more like to think in a business mindset. So focus also on this point of view. The link with energy, this was a request directly done by the Spe International Board. So we want to be sure that it is linked with energy somehow. Also indirectly, But for example, if you do a biodiverse project in the ocean, maybe we want to know why, because we put here some wind turbines. Wind turbines have foundation, they may disturb the fish, something like this. So try to always choose a project that can be also okay for an oil company or an energy company. And then delineate a little bit of implementation plan, results, stakeholders. Also here, not super details, but try to, for example, in this case, we made clear that we want to talk with university, we want to talk with governments, we are addressed to the people who are closing a university. So try to make us clear for who the project is and why are you doing it. And regarding, so being back to our presentation, there is then the other delivery by Friday, that is the biggest one. And of course, by Friday and Saturday, you can still do some modifications, but we at least need the structure to know that we're going to be present on Saturday. So here you have, you're going to create a nice cover logo, put the creative person here. I mean, I created this logo for our team. The need and the setting is actually the same things that are here, but a little bit better elaborated with graphics and pictures, something you choose. Your solution and why it is better. We want the best solution. Link with energy. So in this case, we put strategic interest and positive contribution. Plan results. And then the team description, you can definitely copy from here. In the team description, you can put your name, you can put who you are, you can put your passion, you can put fashion pictures. I mean, you can customize. This is, I did this quite fast, so I put the official pictures, but you can definitely a little bit customize. I also wanted to show you this a little. Can you see the second delivery? Okay. And very fast. So here there is the cover. You put the name that Matteo sent you, but you put also maybe if you want a nice name, you change the name, you put a small logo, whatever you want. So here there is the need. Try to find some official information. For example, I took this from the World Bank, the World Bank data. And in order to give some trend, some reasons why you're going to do that. And here, for example, we want to develop innovative methods, cutting-edge partnership with prestigious institutions. And so this is why this makes a great solution. And here again, strategic interest, we put some customize. So for example, we were mostly linked with ENI, so we put Ghana is one of the key countries in our energy company strategy. We want to help our company to have a positive contribution on the community. And we want to improve land and natural resource management. So we want to educate future generation with the right mindset and help young people to auto-determine themselves and to be the managers of the future. So this was our reason to do this project. And the link also with energy. And here, sort of idea. So in our case also, it was a sort of a launch of a new initiative. So we started with some research, we piloting with something that is not too much expensive, some summer schools, maybe you can just send some teachers to some structures in order to test if there is interest. Then there is the construction of the innovation hub and then the startup of the school. So you can do something similar. Also, for example, if you want to do something bigger than 5 million, it is not super advised, but you can start say we can start with a spin-off. Then I want to collect much money. I want to arrive there. We are in the venture capital area, and you can do. I mean, and the people want to finance ideas that are really good. So it's not as in the past. If you have a new innovative idea, you will have people fighting to finance your idea. So you can show us some way to increase your your 5 million. And the team you can copy from the other let's say, oops. Yes, from the other delivery. Okay, so here, just to give an idea, we say you can, I mean, the examples is something that I did very fast, so it's just an example, but you can also take inspiration from what other companies are doing. So for example, an idea is the electrification of platforms. As I say, if you do the project and say, I want to electrify all the platforms, first, you can do in 5 million. Second, you didn't do any work for setting up the problem. So as I said, maybe you can say, I don't know if you know Equinor very well, you can say, Johan Svendrup, we know is a super innovative part for digital transformation. So we want to test a new way to measure methane emissions there. Okay, that is a cool project. And you can use 5 million to measure methane emission on one asset, let's say. Here are other examples that are more linked with biodiversity, and so with different United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, different from climate actions, are still important. And so, for example, here there was the monitoring for whales, and here to test the methodology for other assets. I mean, there for environment conservation. So you can choose other ideas from other companies. Here there was the concept I was mentioning this morning. This is now actually a project of ENI that was acquired by ENI. It is an inertial sea wave energy converter. And I contributed to the concept solution of this one when I was at the university. Then some people of the team made the pilot, made a startup, and now the startup has been acquired by ENI. So everything is possible in life. Really want to pass you also this idea. I have to say it's not producing many energy, so it's not working very well. But still, maybe it also will be improved. So this is for ENI. Other things for ENI, for example, is promote sustainable agriculture. You can see here, for example, there is more than one United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And here, for example, is access to water, always in Nigeria, and you have more than one. So you can do as a company, since you are going to present this to a corporation, you can think like ENI or like Equinor in this way. And here another example of ADNOC. ADNOC is doing a lot of things on biodiversity, both on land and on the sea. On the land, for example, she has many projects on mangroves. I had to do a project with ADNOC, and I became very expert of mangrove cultivation. And then here is this biodiversity study for the sea. Or here, very interesting, there is an approach for holistic approach for this Gaia mega project development to control somehow, to enhance the biodiversity. So I would say that this is everything that I had in mind, also coming from different questions that I received. Maybe some other, tell me if you have other questions. Otherwise, I can say some questions that I received during these, between yesterday and today, and that can be useful to everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. One thing that I see on the chat is, will the evaluation criteria be shared? I think that it's in the presentation already that we sent, but we could send it again to everyone after the closing of this meeting. So for also the participants here to have it. And also we are running quite late. It's already about half an hour after the supposed closure time of the meeting. So well, I propose, well, if there's any question, make it, but otherwise, if you have any doubt, please refer to me, to Julia, to Rodrigo, so to the organizational team, and we'll be there for you to reply to all the doubts that you might have. If there's no question right now, well, I will close the meeting. Julia, was there anything else to be said? I don't think so. I mean, you covered pretty well what we are expecting from the participants and the mentors.
Yeah, also we are in contact by WhatsApp and everything.
Yeah, sure.
So
actually, as a reminder, maybe some participants here might not have joined the WhatsApp group. There's a WhatsApp group to network and to pose problems and questions and to engage with your team members, to the mentors. So if you didn't, all the details were in the mail that I sent to you. And also, we've got a LinkedIn page, and we need to pay and to really be grateful to the sponsor of the event, which was in the flyer of the event, that is Shell, the energy company. And we didn't mention early, but we're really thankful for the sponsorship, and this really proves how energy companies are more and more looking towards sustainability, and also it's been shown by the example that Julia just showed us. But thanks again to Shell for the sponsorship. And well, thank you very much for being with us this hour, this morning, afternoon, evening, night, depending on your time zone. And it's been great to show you and to share with you the keynotes by the special guests. And well, I wish really a good work to all of you. And as I said, I saw on the chat previously, it's not all about the result. It's much about the process, about the networking, meeting each other. So that are the values of SPE, an international organization which basically has no boundaries and which can connect all. And also thanks to these virtual tools that nowadays we are all used to use. So thank you again, and well, we will see you again on Saturday for the pitch and for the awards. And well, good work to all of you, and see you soon.
Thank you everyone.
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye-bye.